I see some faces that I don't know, but I'm sure I'll get to know you after the program. So welcome to our Sunday Sangha at ISKCON Stouffville. We are in this journey of reading and studying the sacred text, Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. I'm really fortunate that I got this opportunity to speak from the sixth chapter of the Gita once again, because this is every chapter is important, and in this day and age where, mind and, issues related to the mind has become a very big subject matter that's being discussed in the world, understanding the sixth chapter is the key to progressing in our path of bhakti. So before we begin to study today's text, we will start with the Jai Radha Madhava and Mangalacharan. Please repeat. So I have a little bit of, my voice is not all that great, so if I do have issues coughing or something, please forgive me. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana 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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha the invocation prayers are in the introduction to the Gita. If you can all open up the introduction, then we can all chant the Mangala together, which is the invocation prayers. It's on page 1 of the Gita. For those of you who have the Gita for the first time, it's on page 1, just right under the title Introduction. I hope you all have got the introduction page open. Is there anyone who didn't get the introduction page? Madad chahiye aapko, Mataji?
I think the first page I'm seeing is setting the scene.
It's page number 1. If you look at the bottom of the page, it will say page number 1.
You have to go further.
Further, introduction.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's the one. So we'll chant it together, but for the first shloka, that's Om Ajnana, I'll also chant the translation, so that will get registered in all our minds, and it's very important to understand the meaning of the text. So that's the only text I'll chant the translation, the rest we will chant as they are, the shlokas. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya
Jnananjanashalakaya
Jnananjanashalakaya
Chakshurunmilitam yena
Chakshurunmilitam yena
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
I was born in the darkest ignorance,
I was born in the darkest ignorance,
and my spiritual master
and my spiritual master
opened my eyes
opened my eyes
with the torch of knowledge.
with the torch of knowledge.
I offer my
I offer my
respectful obeisances
respectful obeisance
unto him.
unto him.
Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam
Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam
Stapitam Yena Bhutale
Stapitam Yena Bhutale
Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam
Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam
Dadati Swapadantikam
Dadati Swapadantikam
Vandeham Shri Guru
Vandeham Shri Guru
Shri Yuta Padakamalam
Shri Yuta Padakamalam
Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha
Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha
Shri Rupam
Shri Rupam
Sagrajatam
Sagrajatam
Sahagana
Sahagana
Raghunathanvitam
Raghunatanvitam
Tamsajivam
Tamsajivam
Sadvaitam
Sadvaitam
Savadutam
Savadutam
Parijana Sahitam
Parijana Sahitam
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Shri Radha
Shri Radha
Krishna Padan
Krishna Pada
Sahagana
Sahagana
Lalita
Lalita
Shri Vishakhanvitamsha
Shri Vishakhanvitamsha
Hey Krishna
Hey Krishna
Karuna Sindhu
Karuna Sindhu
Dinabandhu
Dinabandhu
Jagatpate
Jagatpate
Gopesha
Gopesha
Gopika Kanta
Gopika Kanta
Radha Kanta
Radha Kanta
Namostute
Namostute
Tapta Kanchana
Tapta Kanchana
Gaurangi
Gaurangi
Radhe
Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari
Rishabhanu
Rishabhanu
Sute Devi
Sute Devi
Pranamami
Pranamami
Haripriye
Haripriye
Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha
Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha
Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha
Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha
Namam Vishnupadaya
Namo Vishnupadaya
Krishna Presthaya Bhutale
Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhakti Bhaktivedanta
Srimate Bhaktivedanta
Swamin iti namine
Swaminiti Namine
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Gauravani Pracharine
Gauravani Pracharine
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Paschatya Deshatarine
Paschatya Deshatarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Please put your hands up in the air as a symbol of surrender to the Lord and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra together 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate giram yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Katanjana Smritesmin Dushkaram Sukaram Bhavet Vismrite Viparitam Syat Shri Chaitanyam Namamitam. So, just as a refresher, can someone tell me which chapter we are reading?
Chapter 642.
Chapter 6, text 42. Okay. Chapter 6 is entitled, any of the Matajis? What is this 6th chapter called? It is called Dhyan Yoga. Yeah, Dhyan. Thank you, Mataji. And we are in the 42nd text today, in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. For those of you who have the Big Gita, it's on page number 295. Okay, let's start. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, entitled Dhyan Yoga, text 42. Atava yoginameva kule bhavati dhimatam etadhi durlabhataram loke janma yadidrusham. Text 42, please repeat. Atava yoginameva kule bhavati dhimatam etadhi durlabhataram loke janma yadidrusham. Atava yoginameva So the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is they're the words of the Lord and they're considered to be the sacred text, right? So last week when I gave the book to the kids, I had told them that this is what I was taught. So I told them that like we should not keep the Gita where anyone walks, or anyone sits, or where anyone eats. And we should not scribble on the Gita. So when you all have the Gita in your hands, please treat it as you're holding the sacred text, and please give it that much value, right? And when you give value to something, you will also receive that much value in your lives. Let's continue. Atava yoginameva kule bhavati dhimatam. Atava yoginameva kule bhavati dhimatam. Etadhi durlabhataram loke janma yadidrusham. If anyone would like to read the text, please feel free to chant them. Any volunteers for chanting the shloka?
अथवा योगिनामेव भवति धीमताम्
कुले भवति धीमताम्
एतद्धि दुर्लभतरम् लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्
अथवा योगिनामेव
कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरम् लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्
अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरम् लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्.
Would you like to try, Mataji?
Yeah, maybe.
Try.
Atva yoginameva
कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरम् लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्. Would you like to try? Any Matajis? अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरम् लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्. Okay. Yes, Mataji.
अथवा योगिनामेव
कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि
दुर्लभतरम् लोके जन्म
ईदृशम्. लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्. Anyone else? Yes, Mas. अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरम् लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्. So let's read the translation and then word for word and translation. Athava of Yoginam of learned transcendentalists Eva certainly Kule in the family Bhavati takes birth Dhimatam of those who are endowed with great wisdom Etat this he certainly Durlabhataram very rare Loke in this world Janma birth Yat that which Idrisham like this. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Or, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. Translation, please repeat. Or
Or
if
if
unsuccessful
unsuccessful
after long practice of yoga,
after long practice of
he
yoga,
takes his birth
he takes his birth
in a family of transcendentalists
in a family of transcendentalists
who are surely
surely
great in wisdom.
great in wisdom.
Certainly,
Certainly,
such a birth
such a birth
is rare in this world.
is rare in this world.
Purport. Anyone wants to read, or shall I continue?
Can I read?
Yes, Rosha.
Purport. Birth in a family of yogis or transcendentalists, those with great wisdom, is praised herein because a child born in such a family receives a spiritual impetus from the very beginning of his life. It is especially the case in the Acharya or Goswami families. Such families are very learned and devoted by tradition and training, and thus they become spiritual masters. In India, there are many such Acharya families, but they have now degenerated due to insufficient education and training. By the grace of the Lord, there are still families that foster transcendentalists generation after generation. We are certainly very fortunate to take birth in such families. Unfortunately, both our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, and our humble self had the opportunity to take birth in such families by the grace of the Lord, and both of us were trained in the devotional service of the Lord from the very beginning of our lives. Later on, we met by the order of the transcendental system.
Thank you, Prabhu, for reading the paper. So, in this section of the Gita, Krishna and Arjuna, obviously the whole Gita is a conversation between the Lord and his friend Arjuna. In text 39, Arjuna had a doubt. And that doubt was, what happens to a person who's taken up this, transcendental path of practicing Dhyan Yoga, a yogi, if he's practicing so hard, and if he fails, what happens to him, right? So that was a question that Arjuna had for Krishna, and he's asking Krishna to dispel his doubt, to, uproot the ignorance or doubt that he has. And then thereafter, Krishna has been answering the question. So in text 40, Krishna says that transcendentalists who are engaged in this auspicious activity, he surely has no loss, right? He is engaged in this path, and certainly he's not losing anything. And also in that purport, Prabhupada says that a person who does good will definitely get good, right? And the text thereafter, Krishna explains to Arjuna that there are two types of unsuccessful yogis, right? One who practices for a long time and fails, and one who practices for a short time and fails. Right? So in the last text, Prabhu discussed what happens to a yogi who's practiced for a short time and has failed. Does anyone remember what happens to such a person? Okay. We'll take Pitambar Prabhu last. Anyone else wants to answer? Were you all there for the last class? Okay, no, none of you are there. Okay, that's nice to have a fresh audience. But it'll be nice to see you week after week also, right? So we'll give opportunity to Pitambar Prabhu.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you. So, for those transcendentalists who have practiced only for a short period of time, 6.41 says that they'll be given a chance to take birth in the higher planetary system, Svarga, Loka, etc. They will be given all the opulences they deserve. They will spend thousands of years, because their life is thousands of years, and then eventually they have to come down, take birth in the righteous or Brahminical family, and start from where they ended.
Yeah.
So if they ended at 15%, they'll start from the 16th percent.
Exactly. So everyone understood that? So I'll just put that again in my own words. Srila Prabhupada, Krishna explains to Arjuna that an unsuccessful yogi, that means unsuccessful simply means that he has not achieved his final goal. He's been in that goal, but he's not succeeded in achieving his final, destination or final thing that he wanted to achieve, which is to connect with the Supreme, to be always in the service of the Supreme, right? That is what yoga is for, right? Yoga specifically means to connect with the absolute truth, right? Through various means. We have karma yoga, dhyan, all different paths, and Bhakti Yoga is also there, right? So any transcendentalist, their aim is to connect with the Supreme. And here, we're discussing specifically the Dhyan Yogi. When he is engaged in the practice of meditation, and if he's been unsuccessful after doing it for a shorter time, then all the good he has done and all the akarma, that is the devotional service that he has performed as a result of Dhyan Yoga, they have their own credits, right? So like Prabhu explained, for the Punya Karma, he goes and enjoys in the higher planetary systems, which are, we have 14 planetary systems, right? 7 and 7. So he goes to the higher planetary system, he enjoys the benefit of his punyas, and then after the account is, empty, he has to come back, he's thrown back into the material world, right? Wherein now he has the opportunity to utilize the akarma, or that balance of his spiritual credits. It is not lost in the in the higher planetary system, right? In the higher planet, what he uses is the balance or the credits of his punya karma, right? So the akarma activities or devotion that he does, he gets some credits, and that, like Prabhu explained, if he has achieved 15%, he starts from the 16%, it is not lost, right? So we discussed this in the past also, that any amount of bhakti you perform to the Lord, there is no neha vikrama nashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahatobhayat, that there is no end, there's no destruction to the path of bhakti, right? And whatever you get, that helps you cross over the greatest danger. What's the greatest danger we have? Greatest fear we have in this material world? Okay, Prabhu says birth and death. But I mean, do we even remember that fear? Anyone remembers their last life and how they feared death? No, but it's a fact what Prabhu said, right? Death is what everyone fears, and death is something that people ignore as well, because they think that death will not come to them, but everyone else is dying, right? It's a strange situation. Yes, so devotional service will help us overcome that fear of death that we have. Coming back to the point, an unsuccessful yogi who's practiced for a short time, enjoys in the spiritual world, and then comes back into the material world, and he's born into the family of Shuchinam, Srimatam, Gehe, in the family of aristocratic, well-to-do families, where he has enough and sufficient wealth, and he doesn't have to work too hard or endeavor for his bodily needs, and he can practice bhakti easily. Okay, this is a situation of an unsuccessful yogi who's practiced for a short time. And then next verse, Krishna says, Athava, or, right? A person who's practiced for a long time and he's been unsuccessful, what happens to him? He is born into the family of transcendentalists, Dhimatam, right? And then you see a very beautiful point he says, the birth into the family of people who are greatly wise, learned, into the Brahminical families is very rare. That's what he says. Certainly such a birth in this world is very rare. Okay? First of all, human birth itself is very rare, right? There's so many different species, and getting a human life itself is very rare, right? In various texts of Srimad Bhagavatam, in one of the texts, Prahlad Maharaj says, Durlabham Manasham Janma. That this birth is Durlabha. What birth? Manasha birth. The birth of a human being is very rare. And then what does he say? Durlabham Manasham Janma. And therefore, we must utilize this body to practice the path of bhakti from a very tender age. Can anyone guess what that age is? Okay, not Pitamar Prabhu. He's barred from answering for the time being. Anyone else? Can you guess what Prahlad Maharaj says? He is himself a 5-year-old kid who's a great devotee of the Lord, right? So what is the age he says that we must start practicing devotional service? I know I'm digressing a bit, but it would be nice if you could understand this. Any? Just guess. 4 or 5. 2, okay. From birth, okay.
Yeah, maybe from birth.
Okay. Yeah. So a person who's born into Dhimatam family actually has the benefit of getting bhakti before his birth even. But Prahlad Maharaj says you can start at the tender age of 5. Right? So coming back to the point, he says, why I talked about that verse is that Srila Prabhupada says getting birth into the family of greatly learned, transcendentalist, wise people is very rare. But we must understand that, first of all, getting human birth is rare, right? And then secondly, being born into the family of transcendentalists, of wise people who practice what is in the Shastras, share this knowledge with us, with the others, is very rare, right? The fact that all of you are here and studying, holding the Gita and reading a verse from the Gita simply means that in your past life you've done some akarma that has brought you today here to read from the Gita, because it is not easy. It is not only a fortunate person gets the opportunity to, first of all, hold the Gita and read. Secondly, then to understand, realize, and practice, right? Going back to the purport of Srila Prabhupada, this birth in the family of yogic or transcendentalists, those with great wisdom, is praised herein because the child born in such a family receives spiritual impetus from the very beginning of his life. How such a person will receive Vedic knowledge from the beginning of life is because there's samskaras being practiced, right? Even before the conception, there's garbhadhan samskara. Then when the child, there's shodasha samskaras, they say. There are so many samskaras that a Vaishnava follows, so that each step of the way, the child is connected or doing all his activities in connection with the Lord, right? So from birth to death to Antyeshti, right? There are all different samskaras, and everything is done remembering or with Krishna as the central purpose of the activity. Okay? And since we are celebrating Navratri, a lot of people will be doing something called Vidyarambha tomorrow, right? And that is also a samskara, right? So we might be doing samskaras in different ways. It's just that we don't know about them. But in the family of Dhimatam, in the family of devotees of the Lord, they follow these samskaras because they understand that human birth is very rare, and once you get this human birth, this has to be utilized in the service of the Lord. Okay? Then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that there are families in India, especially the Goswami and the Acharya families, that practice this, culture of knowledge. And then he points out the fact that this is not so prevalent nowadays because of, what does he say? Because due to insufficient education and training, right? What's happening nowadays is people are so caught up in the materialistic education that the spiritual fundamental basis is ignored, right? Education itself, or vidya itself, means knowing who you are and how to connect with the Lord. And that is not being taught in the materialistic system of education, right? So there's vidya and avidya. What is being gained in the material institution is avidya, we could say that. But vidya, real vidya, comes from the Shastras, the Vedic texts, the Gita, the Bhagavad, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where we learn the real purpose of our life and how this body that is very rare can be utilized in the service of the Lord. So we understood that a person who's practiced for a very long time and he's been unsuccessful, he's born into the family of transcendentalists, people who are wise. Dhimatam, that's a word to remember. They're born into the family of Dhimatam, right? And then we should remember the fact that Krishna says that such a birth is very rare, durlabham, right? Then in the purport, we have to remember key points that because of insufficient fund of knowledge, due to the education and training system of the modern day, we are not able to have that sort of culture in the current day. But that's what Srila Prabhupada did, right? Srila Prabhupada and his Guru Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they were born into such great families, right? And they were trained by their parents to follow this culture of knowledge, right? To set examples for others, to share this knowledge with others. So Srila Prabhupada's Guru Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, under the order of his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you can see them in the Guru Parampara. You see you see Nrsimhadev and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then you see the 6 Goswamis, then you see the Acharyas. The one who is second from left, that is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That is the father of Srila Prabhupada's Guru. And in between, after him, you have Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who is the Guru of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So under the order of his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he took shelter of a spiritual master. He could have taken shelter of his father, but his father ordered him to take shelter of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So his father taught him that taking Diksha from a spiritual master, a bona fide Acharya, is very important. Right? And so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he took the shelter of his Guru, and then obviously Srila Prabhupada took shelter of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he also followed the orders of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to come to the West, to preach this Krishna consciousness, the knowledge of the Gita and the Bhagavad to everybody. Srila Prabhupada, in his conversations, and one of his initial conversation when he left India to come to the West and preach this, the Krishna conscious philosophy, he says that he didn't say that I am traveling to the United States of America. He said I am accompanying the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So that is his culture of knowledge speaking, right? That is his basis that was given by his father, who would come late from work and still do worship to his, deities at home. How many of us have this practice now? We come back from work, we're so tired. Sometimes we don't even wash up, we just eat and then, just go to sleep, right? But his father would come back, freshen up, take a bath, and then his first activity he would do is worship his deities, offer them something, and then he would, spend time if anybody is available, right? So Srila Prabhupada would be sleeping, but he would hear his father performing service, and then he, as a child, he also wanted to do this. Right? Children are very observant. You don't have to preach to them by speaking. Your practice is what they observe and learn, right? That's why from the tender age, if you give them, that is a lifelong, gift that they have, right? Mataji and her daughter are smiling. I'm sure there's some practice going on in their house. Okay, so why I talked about Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj is that in the purport itself, Prabhupada is feeling so happy that he rarely speaks about himself in any of the purports, and here he's saying that he has had the good opportunity, the great fortune of being being able to follow this culture of knowledge by the mercy that his father and the family gave him, right? So imagine the kind of fortune that we could give the younger generation, the children, the grandchildren that you have in your families. If they get this from you, how fortunate they will be, right? Okay, going back to the purport of Srila Prabhupada, he says here that by the grace of the Lord, and both of us were trained in the devotional service of the Lord from the very beginning of our lives. Right? So he specifically says that it's by the grace of the Lord that he got this training. The Shastras say, without the mercy of Krishna, you don't get Guru, and without the mercy of Guru, you don't get Krishna. Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasado, yasya prasada nagati kutopi. Dhyayan stuvam tasya yasya stri sandhya. Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. That is why the Shastras emphasize that we must offer our respects to our Guru at least minimum 3 times a day. Respect in the form of namaskar. Respect could be also, you don't have to physically, some people may not be able to physically offer their namaskar 3 times a day because we are working, we are out of the house. But you can, you can remember and pay your respects in your mind. the mind is so powerful. This Dhyan Yoga is about the mind, right? This powerful mind makes us sometimes we are synchronized and sometimes we are not synchronized. Have you noticed that sometimes we are not synchronized? Our body is here and our mind is elsewhere. Even now, all of you are seated here, but how many of your minds are right here? I see a very big smile on Prabhu's face. I'm sure you're here, Prabhu, but I'm just wondering about the others, right? Our minds, are they all here? Have you ever watched TVs, watched anything when you're watching something, and suddenly there's no synchronization between the visual and the audio? Is it really pleasant to see such a thing on TV or on whatever your visual medium? No, right? There has to be a sync between what you're watching, the visual, and the audio. If there's no sync, it is not pleasant. Similarly, our body is like the visual medium and our mind is like the audio. If these two are not in sync, then this life will not be very pleasant, right? That is why, these days, in this modern world, people say live in the moment, live in the present, right? That's what it simply is. Having your mind at the same place as where your body is. And this chapter of the Gita talks exactly that. To live in the present, to be in the present, to enjoy the moment that you're doing, to realize what you're doing, understand what you're doing and do. Right? So that being said, I also wanted to point out the fact that because this human birth is very rare, how we utilize this human birth is very important. Right? We often don't think about it. Like even I personally, like a lot of people, we just read the text and we are done with it, closed. Come next week, we don't even remember what we read. Right? The most important thing is when you read a text, how you utilize what knowledge you've gained. I was talking to one of my family members yesterday, and it is really funny. Like, it's not funny, but it's nice to see that people are endeavoring. That endeavor you put in the path of bhakti, there's no loss, right? So a person has not read the Gita, but he's endeavoring to read the 4 Vedas, right? There's no harm, because that is also a way of inquiring into the self, trying to get to know, who you are. The only thing is, when people read different texts, I always think of the example that we've been hearing, that you have an elevator and you have a staircase, and if you have 140 stories in a building, will you take the elevator or the staircase? An intelligent person is going to take the elevator, right? So when Srila Prabhupada has given us so mercifully these sacred texts in a very accessible manner, why would we spend time reading a lot of texts, right? But there's no harm. There is no harm, because inquiry into the self can be done in various ways, right? So if you have the time, you can read as many texts as you want. But in this day and age, we often hear from people, we don't have time. Is there anybody who says that I have enough time to even sit half an hour, forget half an hour, 15 minutes for myself? How many of you are able to do sitting by yourself 5 to 10 minutes or 15 minutes maximum? Do you have the time? Pitamba Prabhu and Prasanna Vasudev Prabhu have time, they're smiling. Mataji has time. Jai, okay, that's nice. But the rest of us say we don't have time, right? Yeah. That is the state of material affairs. But a very funny state is that when you think that you want to have time, you'll suddenly see that time just comes your way. You suddenly have that slot of 15 minutes where you get for yourself. But what do you need for that? You need to endeavor. You need to have that ichha, that I want to spend 15 minutes. Right? The moment you have the desire that you want that 15 minutes, Krishna is giving it to you. And then you choose what you want to do with that 15 minutes. Right? So it is really nice that you've taken that time today to be here. This is your small endeavor. But how can you further enhance this endeavor. Endeavor has to be a constant factor, right? एक दिन सोचो, like one day you think and then next day, okay, I got 15 minutes today, okay, I'll be very happy if I get it once in a month, 15 minutes. Are you happy with that? No, you'd want to have that 15 minutes again and again, right? So that, okay, you get some shanti, some peace of mind, right? So, what I'm trying to say is, you get that end time because Krishna is given to you, and then how you utilize that time fruitfully depends on you, right? But if you utilize in Krishna's service, then that time is of greater value, right? Krishna says in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a text which says, Ayur harati vaipumsam udhyan ashchan chayan naso tasyate yachano nita uttama shloka vartayat. Okay? Ayur harati vaipumsam. By this rising and setting of the sun, what is happening to our lives?
Reducing day by day.
Is it increasing or decreasing? It's reducing, Prabhu is saying. Is it true? We're all growing older, and as we get older, what's happening? Our time in this world is reducing. But that's not the case with the person who is taken shelter at the lotus feet of Murari, at the lotus feet of Krishna. What happens to such a person? Because he's performing bhakti, he does not lose time, right? His bhakti is going to help him elongate the life. For what purpose? Life, not the material life, but his time of performing bhakti or devotion to the Lord, right? Again, Srila Prabhupada often quotes this verse that, this material world is full of difficulties. Padam padam yad vipadam. But to a person who's taken shelter at the lotus feet of Murari, Mahat Padam Punya Yasho Murari. To such a person, danger does not come. Danger is just minimized. The dangers in this material world are like the ocean, like samudra. But for a devotee, that samudra of difficulty becomes condensed to fit into the footprint of a calf. The footprint of a calf is very tiny. So you may have so many difficulties, but the moment you take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, all your problems just vanish away or just get minimized. So that is the beauty of devotion. Srila Prabhupada, because he was so blessed and bestowed by the mercy of Sri Krishna, he got such a wonderful guru who gave him a wonderful instruction. And what was that wonderful instruction Srila Prabhupada got from his spiritual master? To go to the West, to preach in the medium of English, right? His guru said, you're a young man, you can go preach in English to the West. And Srila Prabhupada prepared, he didn't immediately leave everything and go. He prepared to follow the instruction of his spiritual master. And when the right moment came, he left and he traveled. He left his comfort zone and he came down to the West to preach this mission of Mahaprabhu. And it is only because he has humility, it's only because he's so merciful that he came and spread this knowledge to all of us. And without him, we will not be sitting here together, right? So you see the mercy of an Acharya. The mercy of Acharya is so immense that he has reached every corner of the world to convert the materialistic minded people, the people who are in illusion, to come to the path of bhakti, right? It is why I'm speaking again and again on the subject is because to understand that it is very rare for all of us to sit here together. It is very rare to get to read the Shastric text. It is very rare to get birth in the family of Dhimatam, right? So to reiterate that point we've been speaking, and therefore it is important to study the Shastric text. Not just study, but also to share. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the devotees of the Lord who share this knowledge with others, they're very dear to him. Obviously today's subject matter, I've been going in different tangents, but the whole understanding should be that an unsuccessful yogi, even though he's unsuccessful, he's not lost anything. He's born in the family of transcendentalists, and such a birth is very rare. And what does he do with his rare birth? He utilizes it to continue where he left off from. He doesn't think that, okay, now I have this happy, good life, I will just gain knowledge and just live my life. No. He goes on to practice devotional service so that in this lifetime, he does not, so that in this lifetime what happens? He does not fail, right? He's been unsuccessful in his past life. He does not want to fail in this life, right? So he practices what? He practices devotion to the Lord. Right? There are various ways to practice devotional service to the Lord. Until we come to the stage of, loving Krishna in 5 different ways, there are 5 rasas we can have with Krishna. Anyone knows what they are? Anyone wants to guess what they could be?
5 ways, like friendship, father,
Friendship, parental relationship, then?
Mentor? Just a guess.
No, that's okay. Because Mataji said mentorship, but no.
As a devotee.
As a devotee, okay.
servant.
Servant devotee. It's Pitambar put his hand, let's ask Prabhu.
Madhurya ras,
Madhurya,
Vatsalya ras,
Vatsalya,
Sakhya,
Dasya,
Dasya, and Santa.
and Shantaras. Even trees and plants and all the mobile objects also can have some sort of relationship with Krishna, right? So until you come to that level of prema and have 5 kind of relationship with Krishna, we will fall. Apparently, there are some, like in the past you must have heard about Belomangala Thakur, about Bharat Maharaj, who fell down from the highest level of practicing bhakti, right? Belomangala Thakur, he fell from the stage of bhava. But then again, he was guided by the prostitute in the form of a guru to understand the purpose of his birth and to follow the path of bhakti. And then he just surrendered his life at the lotus feet of the Lord, and he led a very exemplary life, right? So an unsuccessful yogi will get an opportunity to become successful by being born into in the family of Dhimatam, if he's practiced Dhyan Yoga for a very long time, or the path of devotion for a very long time. But is it really necessary to take the risk of failing and falling down, right? That's a question that we must think. Since we have this human birth, how should we utilize this birth? We are not Dhyan Yogis. We are nowhere close to Dhyan Yogis. But we've accepted this path of bhakti. We are dedicating some bit of our time to serving the Lord. That is an endeavor you're making. Yes, Mataji.
So what is the difference between being a devotee in an active state versus a passive state?
Active state versus a passive state? It's so straightforward, active and passive.
So either he is in your subconscious, but you're not doing anything actively, and then vis-a-vis serving him actively. Is that plain a difference, or is there something that I'm not
No,
understanding?
you meant from the 5 kind of relationships
Yeah.
we're talking about?
Yeah.
Shantaras is essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, essentially objects that have cannot move around, right? It's like for plants and trees and they can, and birds and not birds really, but it's mostly for immobile objects is what I've heard. An active person can do devotional service. They can think, they can hear, they can render devotional service actively, like you just said, yeah. Whereas immobile objects or like trees and plants, they can serve the Lord, but by being offered. Like Tulsi Maharani can be offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Flowers can be offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Honey can be offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. So when the honey is offered, the honey bees or the flowers, they get the mercy of serving the Lord, right? Yeah. So that's what I think it is. Yeah. So active service is so much better, right? Because because it's very difficult to sit quietly and meditate. Although that is considered to be a very high level of bhakti, sitting in one place and meditating. But Srila Prabhupada has taught us, because this age of Kali it's very difficult for us to practice all anything alone, or by ourselves, or also by sitting in one place. He's told us to be very actively engaged, become Goshti Anandis. That is, our moment is about Goshti, doing everything together. The energy, the vibrations that you create together helps one another grow. Like also you will be influenced by the, the other person practicing, or you'll get, what do you say, utsah. You will be, what's utsah in English? Motivated, enthusiastic, encouraged, motivated, because another person is doing a seva better than you, or or is doing it so wonderfully that you think, oh, I should also do it such a way so that it will be pleasing to Krishna, right? So doing it in a goshti together is what our parampara follows. Mahaprabhu always had so many goshtis of devotees doing kirtana together, which is very pleasing for the Lord. So this movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which propagates the Sankirtana practice of doing Kirtana for the Lord, is Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. In this Kali Yuga, this is like the benediction moon that has risen. Benediction moon. Benediction simply means that you get some sort of blessing, right? And it is a blessing for all of us, because this benediction moon removes the it removes all the contamination within our hearts that have come about because of so many lifetimes we've taken. We've not just taken 1 or 2 births before, we've taken many, many births, and we don't know how many births we've taken. And all the anarthas, all the, sorry, I'm looking at you because you asked the question. Because these anarthas have been accumulated for so long, only the Sankirtana movement of the Lord can help, remove that accumulated, anartha very easily. When sometimes you have pots and pans, it's very difficult to, get the grime or whatever you call it, the oily stuff from it, right? You have to soak it up. Like that, we have to get soaked up in this Krishna consciousness. We have to get soaked up in Kirtana, in chanting the names of the Lord, because the names of the Lord, Krishna has Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarvashak Tatrarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kala Eta Drishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrisham Hajani Nanuraga. These names of the Lord, Krishna has thousands of names. And what has he done? Very magical. These names of the Lord, they have all the potencies as Krishna would. Prabhupada often says, when you say Coca-Cola, 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 Coca-Cola is not going to come and quench your thirst. But if you say Krishna, Krishna is going to be present there. Right? Krishna's name is as Krishna is. So that name has so much of potency. Mahaprabhu in his Shishtashtakam says that Mahaprabhu, who is devotee of the Lord himself, who is Krishna himself, is saying that I have no taste for such names of you, my Lord. Please give me taste, right? What to talk about all of us. But what he's emphasizing in this particular verse is that the names of the Lord have so much of potency, and there are no rules and regulations for chanting the names. You can chant the Lord's name anywhere, everywhere, anyhow, right? So it is important that we take some, we develop love for these names, and once you start developing love for the names, you cannot live without them, and it'll be a void if you are not able to call out his name once, right? It's just like having a material relationship and you love somebody, and if that person is not in your life, you feel a void. This is many, many more times that, right? So yeah, let's utilize this human form of life and the opportunity that Srila Prabhupada has given us by reading the sacred texts, by reading the Gita every day, the Srimad Bhagavatam, as many times as we can in this lifetime, because this is the greatest fortune we have. This is the greatest blessings that we have. If anybody has any doubts, please feel free to ask. I'm sorry if I've digressed from the subject. To summarize today's text, a person who has been unsuccessful in the path of practicing yoga and has practiced for a very long time, he gets birth in the family of transcendentalist or dhimata, and such a birth is very rare. And so we must utilize such a person. What he does is he utilizes this from current life that he has had to progress in the path of bhakti. So, any questions, any doubts? Yes.
I have one.
Yes.
I heard you saying that we are even far from being Dhyan Yogi, right?
Yeah.
Like for a people like us, like even if I hear you.
I don't know about you, Maji. I am very far. but yeah.
I mean, even if I hear you, you know many texts, so I don't consider even myself near you. So point is, how do we even know that we are even progressing toward that path? Like as a person, how do I even feel that whether I'm progressing or I know that?
It's a very nice question. Let's see what Prabhu's question is, and then maybe answer both of them together. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, simple question. Like we always think, like as we read in Bhagavad Gita, like our karma of current life will lead to the new birth, right?
Yeah.
And when you have new birth, of course, whatever the being is, how that will know that if any person is born in a rich family or in the good family or something, how the person will know that it's even though I've been unsuccessful yogi, you will never know, right? So how we are trying to understand that I was unsuccessful in previous my life, I got one opportunity, or I might be very successful in previous life, maybe I got. So how will differentiate?
Okay, so your questions are slightly different, but let's see how we can answer these questions. Whatever little bit of knowledge I have, I'd like to ask a question to you, Prabhu. When you start off with something, do you think of success or failure? What you want to achieve or what you've not achieved?
It depends what is defined as success.
Okay, let's go back
Usually, you always think of positive.
Positive. Okay, so when you are in a new place, you look forward to new things, right? Similarly, when you have a new life, ideally you look forward to what you have in the life. Right? So generally, the fundamental principle is that Krishna is the one who gives us remembrance, forgetfulness, knowledge, and everything, right? And so as jivas, when we take births, we are made to forget our past life. Right? But there are very few people who've been bestowed with the opportunity to remember their past life, so that they'll remember and they will, continue the life, and they'll pick up from where they left and they'll go immediately. Such people are very rare. And Krishna says in the 7th chapter of the Gita that hardly out of millions and millions of people, hardly one person comes to know Krishna in truth, which means that opportunity is given to such people who realize Krishna to that 99.9%, and that they're left with that 0.1%. Like Bharat Maharaj got an opportunity when he was in the form of a deer. Even in the deer form, he got that remembrance. Oh, this is what happened. This is why I got this birth. And so in his next birth, as Jada Bharat, he took care that he does not even trample on insects, and he doesn't have worldly attachments, so that he doesn't get attached to people, and he's able to practice the path of bhakti easily, right? So that is given by the Lord, okay? But otherwise, we will take many births, do percentage by percentage, because when you get such birth, there is plus and minus. You sometimes become very comfortable in that life, and you might even get digressed from what you were actually meant to do. That's where the family plays a role, right? So those people who have lived done shorter practices, they get born into the family of aristocratic Shrimatam Gehe, right? Aristocratic people. But you see, people who have done for a long time, they get birth in the family of transcendentalists. And what do transcendentalists or the people who are wise they do? Their practice is to live their life in connection with the Lord. So there's hardly any chance for kids born in that family to get digressed. There will be, because we are under the modes of material nature, there will be every moment there'll be some trick Mahadevi will play to, allure us. But because we are in the association of sadhus, because we're in the association of a good family, we will be constantly be reminded. But yes, we have our karma from past life, whatever, that will also play a role. But we have greater opportunity to, progress in the path of bhakti. Did that answer?
Mataji, is it also?
Yeah.
Is it also?
Kind of, right? Okay.
I'm not able to get 100%.
Mataji, is it?
Yes, Prabhu, please help.
Okay, Prabhu, very nice. I'll get back to you also.
No, I will, yeah. That.
Prabhu, first thing, there is something which we must believe because that is called providence. Providence means we cannot see. We have got imperfect senses. We cannot. Krishna is called inconceivable. Inconceivable because we cannot understand him. Similarly, there are factors which are beyond our perception or our experience or our experimentation. Right now this science believes you experiment and then you believe. These are beyond the realm of experimentation. So what happens, Prabhu, is that providence is always working whether you willing or not. Like say laws of karma. You don't control laws of karma, right? What we say, what goes around comes around. We don't control. But still it happens. Now, how does it happen? It's because Prakriti or Maya is created by Lord Krishna. And laws of karma works under the instructions of Krishna. So those laws of karma or those providence will automatically work without your knowledge, without you controlling, without you knowing, or without you experimenting. So we cannot know. But Krishna assures that if you like your question was, if how will a person know if I have done only say minimum, very minimum, 6.41 p, minimum bhakti versus the 6.42 very major, how will you know? We don't need to know, Prabhu. We don't. The short answer: we don't need to know because that's something providence controls, and what providence controls, we cannot even conceive. You get my point?
And also to add to that, Prabhu, the current social system that we see is one such example of what you asked, Prabhu. Why is there different levels of people in the society? Generally, in the materialistic world, we talk about poverty. Some are wealthy, some are poor, some are at different levels of the social realm. So, in hindsight, when we read the Bhagavad Gita, all this realization comes to us. Now, if you put, the chapter 6, text 42, and put that into that picture, the perspective, doesn't it make sense? That why we have different people born in different parts of the society and why they go through so many troubles, right? Why are you here or why are we here in this room listening to 6.42, okay, understanding a bit, getting that little bit of mercy of understanding Bhagavad Gita. So this is the answer to a short answer to the question that you asked.
Yeah, you would not know.
Yeah,
but
we will not know.
You will be faced with
these
a
are realizations.
reality where Krishna will come forward and tell you, okay, this is what it is. Right? This is what was in my head when Prabhu was speaking, and.
But the question has got very essence to it because
Yeah.
the whole essence you asked, the whole essence of Bhagavad Gita, you must believe in something which you cannot see.
So,
have we seen Krishna? No. Still we are believing, right? Because if Krishna says that I am everywhere, everything is generated, Anadiradir Govindam Sarva Karanakaram, everything is emanating from me. Krishna says. But we have not seen those things. We have got to believe. What is the, Prabhupada gives this example, what is the final proof for a child to know who is his father? Prabhupada says many, many times. What is the final, can you tell me, what's the final proof that who is his father? He will ask his mother. He will ask his mother. His mother's word is final for the child to say that he is my father. Because child don't know. So Prabhupada's favorite example, same way we should believe that first Krishna exists, Krishna is a person, there is a providence, there are laws of karma working. Like Mataji said, Prabhu said, how will we know? Why did we took birth only in this family? Why not in other families? Was it in your control?
No.
Was it in your control that you will be born as a man or woman or even animal or beast? No.
That's
Absolute. Or I will have only this type of nose.
Yeah, Prabhu's question was that, like, how will I know? But this is how you know from the Shastras.
So very, very good question, Prabhu. I love that question. You asked the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. But I hope now it is convincing to you.
Yeah.
If not, please ask again, Prabhu.
I'm getting it to the point, but again, that's what it was just on.
Yeah, but it's something. Let's put it automatic. It's automatic. It's not us. It will attach to you in the next birth.
I'll just add to that. Krishna, he reveals with the shining lamp of knowledge, he says in the 10th chapter of the Gita, right? The moment you have a doubt, Krishna will give you answers in different ways. Trust me on this. Because, Prabhupada and all the acharyas have proven the fact. The moment something comes, you're doing an inquiry, and your inquiry will be answered by the Lord who is seated within your heart as Paramatma. This question is not asked by you. Your Paramatma is actually, making you do the self-inquiry. So your answers will come in different ways, and there'll be a time when you'll be fully convinced. You got some essence, you will get later by Krishna's mercy. And to answer Mataji's question, how will I know that I'm progressing? So bhakti, the path of bhakti starts with Komal Shraddha, we discussed last week, right? Every step of the way there'll be challenges, right? So Shraddha, Adha Shraddha, once you have Shraddha, you'll have Sadhu Sangha. You had Shraddha, so you're in the association of devotees. I don't know if I'm answering, from the point of view of Shastras. There'll be very practical examples, but because we are running short of time, let me just cover that. Each step of the way, Krishna will give you an answer to understand you're progressing. But in the path of bhakti, there are 9 steps that you take. And from Komal Shraddha, you will come to a point of unshakable faith. Between that and this, you have association of sadhus. You will do bhajana kriya, which is engaging yourself in the 9 process of devotional service. And then you will have firm, unshakable faith in the Lord. Come what may, your faith will not be shaken. And at that moment, you will take shelter under a spiritual master. Sadhu Sangha, you'll get shelter under a spiritual master, and your spiritual master will guide you in the path of bhakti, right? So slowly and steadily, you'll progress. So initially, this is how you know that you're progressing. By the association of sadhus, they're going to help you understand whether you're progressing or not. They'll help you find the seed of bhakti within your heart. So Mataji, we will discuss this further. We'll end this discussion right now. Thank you all for your patient listening. I hope you've got the essence of these texts for today. Vachakalpatrubhyasya kripasindubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the assembly Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are like desire trees, and they can fulfill the desires of everyone. And they're full of compassion for fallen conditions. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai.